again, and we're going to introduce our panel guests. I'm going to serve as your moderator today. And we really like the way our SAISD Human Capital Management did Growing Your Own. So we thought, you know what? Why don't we do Growing Our Own SAISD Leaders? Because all four of the folks that you see up here on the stage attended SAISD schools throughout their educational career. Okay. So we're going to start first with Eva. Ella attended Neal Elementary. She took a little detour to say go to Downtown, that's okay. But she graduated from Edison High School. She attended St. Mary's University. She got her bachelor's in business administration and management systems there. She went to the University of Texas, got her master's in business administration, organizational management. Her very first position was computer technician at Northwest Vista College. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the Chief Information Technology Officer of SAISD today. Dr. Whitney Flores attended Storm Elementary, attended Lowell Middle School, and graduated from Luther Burbank High School. He attended Texas Lutheran University for his BA in Sociology and Music Education. He attended Schreiner University for his master's degree in Educational Leadership. He received his superintendent certification from Texas A&M, and he just recently received his doctoral degree in Educational Leadership from Texas Tech University. His first position was a band director at Truman Middle School in Edgewood ISD, and today he is the proud principal of Lanier High School. I would be amiss if I didn't acknowledge Dr. Cindy Canigello, because she was originally one of the panel members here today, but she got ill this week. And so we are giving her her gift, we're doing everything that we do for her, we want to acknowledge her. She was actually a valedictorian of Edison High School. So let's give a round out to Dr. Canigello. So stepping in on Thursday of this week is our very own Tabitha Acevedo. She attended Stephen F. Austin Elementary, Cotton Elementary, Horace Mann Middle School, and graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School. Her first position was a 5th grade teacher at Spring Park Elementary, Duval County, in the public school system of Jacksonville, Florida. And her current position as one of the IB representatives here is Woodlawn Hills Elementary Principal as part of the International Baccalaureate Network. Tabitha, thank you. We're very fortunate with us today to have a servant leader among us. And this is Diego Brunel. He attended Arnold Elementary, Tafoya Middle School, and graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School. So, sir, I know you're eager to get home because the Blue and the Mays are playing the Burnt Orange today. He attended University of Michigan, Master's in Social Work, and a Juris Doctorate. His first position was a social worker where he helped young gang members in Detroit transition from a rough life into the workforce. He worked for communities in school and later served as a Maldeaf staff attorney, advocating for immigrant communities. His current position is a San Antonio lawyer who serves the Texas State Representative for House 123, which is in downtown and north central San Antonio. Please give a big hand for Texas State Representative Diego Brunel. So panel guests, I have a few questions I'm going to ask. You may reply if you'd like. I'm going to ask you to try your microphones, make sure your microphones are working, to turn on. And if you want to pass, you can pass. But so let's start with our first question. Who would like to start off by telling us about their educational journey?
I can go first. So I was fortunate enough to attend SAISD the whole time. I did not take a break from SAISD. I'm very proud to say that I graduated from West Jefferson High School 04 like none before. It is our 20th year reunion this year. And then I knew that I wanted to go far away. I honestly thought I would leave and never come back, but that was not true. And I attended Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. And I am actually currently enrolled at UTSA for their educational leadership program and pursuing my PhD.
Okay, I can go next. So I graduated from this beautiful school, Edison High School. And throughout my years here, I just had a lot of teachers and counselors that really guided me and helped me even think about the possibility of getting into college. My math teacher, Miss Ng, which if you talk to a lot of people who graduated from Edison, they will refer to Miss Ng as one of the best teachers, but she was just so passionate and wanted to ensure that we were prepared for not only our state test, which was TOS, for the TOS test, but for the SAT. I remember we had books and we would go over them in class, but then she would also stay after school for any of us that wanted extra help. So there was like a group of like 4 or 5 that she, would come after school and she would help us with all the math questions, we would go through our books, and that really gave me the confidence to do well in those exams. And then that was able to get me acceptance, right, into the colleges I wanted to go to, but it also helped me get the scholarships that I needed to be able to afford college. When I was here, they would bring in different universities and colleges during lunch. And so one day during lunch, there was a rep from St. Mary's University who I went over and talked to, and she just made me feel so comfortable. So at the time, I'm like pumped. I'm like, I think I can do this. I'm gonna go fill out my application. So I do most of it. And then, like that imposter syndrome sits in. I had already had a son, which is here in the audience, a baby. My oldest. And you start thinking like, am I really going to be able to do this? So I saw my application, I did everything except the essay. Well, weeks go by, and she calls to my house and says, everything's ready, I just need that essay. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I wasn't going to do it. Then my counselor calls me into his office, pulls me out of class, and says, Eva, we need your essay. Like, the deadline's coming up. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. He says the essay's literally a checkbox. Sit here and just write something, So I ended up writing that essay, and I think back to those moments, like if those adults hadn't tapped me on the shoulder that way, my life could have been so different, right? So like that just really sticks out. I went to St. Mary's, it was hard, got through it, took a break, so a couple of years, and then I went and I got my master's degree, and I'm not done, I'm gonna get my PhD, but I have 2 kids in college, and I need to stop paying their tuition so I can go pay mine, but I will be going back for my PhD probably in about 2 years.
I've always said I attended, again, my name is Rick Flores, proper school in New York High School, the pride of the West Side. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I will tell you that I attended Storm Elementary. And to this day, I often share with my family, and I said, I think I'm the reason they named it Storm. Because when I was young, era una tormenta, okay? I lived in the housing projects, in the San Juan housing projects, Section 8, housing development with my mother. My mom was a single parent. I had no aspirations to go to college. I was perfectly fine working at Handy number 17 on Sasamora and Brady. I started my career as a custodian, and I was totally okay with it. But it was my counselor who said, no, mijito, you're gonna go to university. And I said, ma'am, you don't understand. In my family, we're doing good, we don't go to prison. And she said, well, what is your dream? And I said, I want to become a San Antonio police officer. And she said, why? And I said, because unlike my family, and I don't mean any disrespect, I want to be the driver, not in the back seat. And she said, well, let's make that happen. There's actually a scholarship opportunity available. She goes, no pressure. They're only going to select 2 out of 10,000 candidates. And by the grace of God, I was one of the 2 selected to become a San Antonio police officer. But it took my counselor, Josephine Lazaro in Burbank, who said, mijito, I believe in you. She said, I'm going to be there. Of course, I'm going to be there when you graduate from high school, but I'm going to be there when you graduate from college, when you go to Texas Lutheran. And I'm thinking she's not going to be there. She's at the high school one because she has to be there. But when I graduated back in the 1900s, right? When I graduated in 1995 from Texas Lutheran, guess who's on the front row? It wasn't my dad, and it wasn't mom. It was my counselor. And she said, Mijito, now you're going to get your master's. And I'm thinking, okay, now she's lost it. She's doing a little bit extra there. And when I graduated with my master's, she was there. She said, Mijito, now you need to go for your superintendency. I said, ma'am, there's no way. She said, but my health is failing. So I have 2 assignments for you. You're going to finish your superintendency, and then I need for you to go get your doctoral degree. But I promise you this, Ricky, I'm going to be in the front row cheering you on from heaven. That's my counselor.
So, when you can imagine I get called in to talk to classrooms all the time, and talk to students, and I think the adults are usually more excited than the kids are. The kids usually ready to go to sleep. Until I mention this one fact, and that is that it says Jefferson, and it's right. Everyone's announced it for years, so I'll do mine. I'm class of 95. But I started at Brown, and I got kicked out. And then I landed at Jeff, and that's when the kid starts to pay attention. And so I think there's 2 things. One, I think there's no better preparation for life after school than going to the foyer middle school for 3 years. That'll give you all the training you need for the rest of your life. But the other is that I think the profile of a kid who gets kicked out of one school and lands at another, when I tell children that, they start to pay attention because they realize that there's still hope for a bad kid. And it was the teachers and the administrators later on that helped get me to Michigan. And the reason why I do this work is because I think a lot of you know this better than anyone else. First year at Michigan, sociology 101, it's a massive school, it's like UT, so there's 300, 400 students in that class. And I'm petrified, total imposter syndrome. But after the 8th and 9th week, I realized that the students I was in class with were maybe smarter, or more curious, or more driven than all of my boys back home that I went to the foyer in Iraq and Chatsworth. There's just different opportunities or lack of right in front of them. And that's why there were so fewer of my friends in school with me, and I was surrounded by all these kids. And so that lesson, that contrast, is what made me come back here. But if I hadn't had those teachers, those administrators, those experiences, having a rough start, landing on your feet by the end, and SAIC, where I send my kid to now, I have a 7-year-old who's going to SAIC school too. I wouldn't have been. So I'm really here not because, for any other reason, than to get to look you guys in the face and say thank you for the work that you do.
So our next question may be a little bit of a challenge. What events or turning points are significant to you? In your educational journey, what significant events or turning points are significant to you? Anyone can answer or
I'd like to add, it was my 8th grade ceremony when my principal, James Cattell, stopped the ceremony as I'm crossing the stage, and he says, I'm going to stop right here. And Mom wasn't in the audience, Dad wasn't in the audience. I was like that one kid who said, why is he stopping the ceremony? There's nobody here. I hope he doesn't say, parents, please stand, because there was nobody there for me. But he was there. And right in the middle of the stage, he said, I want you all to know something. He goes, Mr. Villarreal, the band director here at Lowell, and he's made a significant investment in, they should call me Little Ricky. They should call me other things, but I'm going to stick with Little Ricky. But my band director saw such potential, and he said, I'm going to buy you a trumpet, which I still have today that all my children have used. And at my 50th celebration, he came over to the house, and he actually saw the trumpet, wanted it back, but that's not the way it's going to work, right? And so I still have that cornet in my house, and I love it. But the principal stopped me in the middle of the stage, and he said, this is Burbank's next drum major. And everybody started clapping, and I'm thinking, what's a drum major? And he said, little Ricky someday will become not only the drum major, but he's going to go to the university. He's going to become a band director. And I'm thinking, first of all, I'm not going to college. Let's put that one out there. And then he said, and maybe someday Ricky will come back into our district and serve as principal. And do you know that everything that my principal spoke has come to fruition today? And I say that to say this, the words that we choose for students are very, very powerful. No one would have known back then in 1985 when I stood there on that stage that I was going through what I was going through internally, because a lot of what we go through, a lot of what our kids go through, they don't always project it out, but they keep it within. Because a lot of it is cultural, because in my home, you know what? You just suck it up. That's just the way it is. And as a young male, I didn't communicate how I was feeling to anyone. But it was my director who made a connection with me because of that power of relationship with my teacher and with my principal, and that has made all the difference. So grateful to them.
I'll speak to my greatest challenge really occurred in undergrad because I was so excited to go away for school, worked very hard at Jefferson to get to an out-of-state college. But I never really anticipated some of the challenges I was going to encounter. And so I went from being immersed in my culture to suddenly being the representative of my culture in another state. And that was a very heavy responsibility for me because I didn't really understand at that time why I seemed so different to everybody. And so it was very important to me what I was about to encounter. It was really a decision. It was very tough, to be honest. You know, it's really great when you can come out of something and say that our experience was wonderful, but my experience wasn't. And I remember crying home to my mom, who didn't want me to leave Texas to begin with. And I was crying to her, telling her what a hard time I was having, even with my roommate. And she said, well, come home. And that was a very easy decision that I could have made to come home, and I decided not to. And I decided to turn the uncomfortable to a comfortable situation by, if I was going to be expected to be the representative, then I was going to be the representative. And so I decided to chair the Latina organization on campus called Nosotras, and really rally all of the Latinas on campus together, which Latinas from everywhere, not just Mexican American. And it was really great to build this community to help each other through the experiences we were all facing. And I think it's just so important for me with our students. There's so many that absolutely want to reach their potential and dream big, but also knowing that they will encounter some challenges with that, but really preparing them for those. And so I'm really grateful to SCISD for instilling grit, which really led to perseverance for me to just move forward and really turning challenges into opportunities. And I think we do a great job here with our students doing that and showing them that the road is not always easy, but you can absolutely get through it.
So I'll just tell you how I got into the education industry. I'm a junior at St. Mary's University, and I'm in a class, and the professor announces the first weeks that he's going to place the top 3 students in an internship. So automatically I'm like, I'm gonna be one of the top 3. Like, I'm gonna work really hard to be one of the top 3. So I ended up having the highest GPA in the class. And it comes time to assign the internships. And the other 2 going first, I mean, they come out and they're like super excited, making what we thought was like all this money. I'm getting 16 an hour, oh my gosh, I'm getting 18. I was like, and I'm like the first in the class, so what am I gonna get? I'm gonna get like 20 something, I'm gonna take care of my mom, my family, it's gonna be great. I go in, and he says, I got you an internship at Northeast Eastern College, and you'll be making minimum wage. And I'm like, and this always happens, like, for 30 seconds, I think I shouldn't say anything, but then I always do. And so I said, I'm sorry, I'm confused. And he says, well, why are you confused? I said, well, I got the highest GPA in the class, but I get the lowest paid job. And he says, oh, it's because you have a kid. Again, confused. He says, well, the education industry offers a great scheduled, right? They're very flexible, it's more family oriented. And I said, you know, there's another person called Father, and there's the great support system that I have, and you did not even give me a choice, right? So then he turns around and he says, okay, if you don't want it, I'll get you another one. I'm like, no, I want it. And he says, well, why are you telling me? So I'm telling you this. So the next time somebody has a kid and you're placing them, or you're, assuming things, that you give them the choice, that you don't just assume that you understand what's going on in somebody's life because of their situation. I'm glad that I got into the education industry and I've stayed in it this whole time. But that's how it happens. Sometimes, you have these microaggressions that people are trying to help, but, for your students, give them all the opportunity, give them all the choices, because you really don't know what's all going on in the background.
So mine had to do with realizing young and then later how many times I got rescued by other people. I think for a lot of us, who some of you might call high achievers, we're sort of built up in our stories and we've done all these amazing things and we've checked all these boxes, but I think if we're being honest, there are people along the way that kept us from falling all the way through. So in high school at Jefferson, there was a teacher named Anita Arnold, and there was a does that name ring something to somebody? Okay. So Miss Arnold was our creative writing teacher, and I had something due, and I didn't do it. But she'd given everyone the chance to do the report in the way that we wanted. And she meant that. Almost everyone wrote essays, but I didn't have mine. And she said, well, I'll give you half the day to do it and get it back to me. And I couldn't write that fast. But I said, you said we could do it any way we want. Yes. That means if I showed up and did an interpretive dance, you would at least grade it. Yes. So I skipped school for the morning. I went home. I was learning how to be a DJ. I made a mix that represented the Heart of Darkness and brought it back, and she gave me a beat. Yeah, it was great, actually. But the point I'm making is that if I had failed that class, I wouldn't have done any of the things that were. But the teacher understood what I could do and what I wasn't doing, and then gave me a chance to fix it, and then kept me going. That's not me, that's not my achievement, that's not some superpower that I have, that's the grace of somebody else. And so when I got to college, for example, my first year, I decided to take Spanish because I needed to get better. I still suck at it, but... And my Spanish teacher tried to teach the class the word weapon. I freaked out, and I started contemplating leaving school and dropping out. But if it wasn't for other people stepping in, talking to her, helping me stay there, get through the year, I would have left. So my point is that the turning points for me haven't really been about me. It's been the moments where other people reached out and kept me from falling all the way through. Those, I think, are the most poignant because it allows us, I think all of us, to do the work with our heads a little bit smaller, not so full of ourselves, but recognizing that we have an obligation to help other people because we're not these sort of do-it-all, did-it-all rock stars. We're really just folks that were lucky enough to get to a certain point because of other people helped us.
This next two questions at the very end. What was your motivation to reach your goals? What was your motivation to reach your goals? And then we'll end with a final message. So someone want to start with, what was your motivation to reach your goals?
The motivation for me to reach my goals was the fact that growing up in the housing projects was such a traumatic experience that I was willing to do anything that it took to go to the opposite end of the spectrum for me. I was the poverty, the failure, the disappointment. It was so heavy that I said, you know, Lord, I'm just willing to do whatever it takes to go to the opposite side. I wasn't always the brightest student in the class, but I was going to outwork everyone. And that's a message that I bring to even to our students at Lanier and other campuses that I've been. You have to work very, very hard and diligently. And you have to focus. And to me, seeing my grandparents, who did a lot of the raising when I was growing up, is seeing how hard my grandfather worked. And seeing how hard my grandmother was to stay home. My grandfather, he would go to work, he would get home at 5 p.m. He would walk in every day, right at 5 p.m. to the house, and he was mowing the lawn, and he would paint, and he would do our jobs. And I would tell him, Grandpa, can I go help you mow the lawn? He said, no, mijito, someday you're going to pay someone, you go sit down and study. And so I never learned to even start a lawnmower. But it's okay, because now I have teenagers, and so they can do that. And I don't have to pay them because I pay the mortgage, right? So it's all good. But I didn't learn to do all those. So when I see these Father's Day sales and specials and commercials, get all these tools, I'm like, what is that? That's foreign to me. I read books and I help around the house because I was basically raised by women. And so being raised by women, not having a male other than my grandfather, it was very, very different. And my wife, I think, actually enjoys it because I love washing dishes, so I love taking care of the kitchen, so it's all good. But for me, it was knowing how hard my grandparents worked, even though they have passed away years ago. In 1994, my grandfather, and in 2010, my grandmother. It's like I can see them right here in the front row. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So they were my motivation.
So I was a first-generation college student, and when I was graduating, I didn't really understand what that meant. Like, people would say, like, oh, okay, you're first in your family to go to college. So I ended up getting a scholarship from St. Mary's that covered about 75-80% of my tuition, but I still need to cover the other 20. So of course here at school, they're like, okay, you just gotta fill out the FAFSA form. So I go to my mom, who doesn't know anything about college, and I said, Mom, tenemos que llenar la FAFSA form. And she's like, okay, like, blank stare. And so, again, here at the school, they connected me with resources. I went to Project Stay. So I went to Project Stay, and I still donate whenever I can because that's really what got me through. They helped us. Good, yes. It's a great resource to continue to promote to kids because, you know, they're really what helped me kind of get to that other 20% that was even able to allow me to go. And I didn't understand that at first, but now like having kids who all three have gone through college and like that you're able to guide them, that you know what it's like and you've been there, it's like, wow, you know, now I understand, it took me years, what it meant to be that first generation college student, the first one in my family, not just my immediate family, but my mom has 7 brothers, and I was the first one and female. And I grew up in a very traditional Mexican household, where I always tell my parents, I know I was supposed to be watching my mom, but I was watching my dad. And my dad was taking risks, and he was running businesses, and he was failing and then getting back up and succeeding, and that's what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to be like my dad. He's very, very hardworking, and you know, that was my motivation. And for all my cousins and family that were coming up after me. So first, it was a big deal because I was going to college. You know, again, I had a son. My place was to be at home taking care of him. So I never complained. During finals, I hid, studied, you know, kind of in the corner where nobody would see and would never really mention anything. And again, being first-generation college student, that kind of like weighs on you a little bit, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I had to succeed because everybody that would come after me would, you know, it would just be easier for them. Once I started working a professional job and I had to travel for work, and I'm in my 40s and I still get scared of that. You know, but when I started traveling for work, my dad's like, is there gonna be men there? And I said, Dad, the last time I checked, there's men in all cities across the country. Yes, there's gonna be men there. So breaking like all those, you know, cultural barriers, and it really was just that, it wasn't that they didn't support me, and my dad would tell me like, I just don't know how to guide you like this world that you're going to, right? We don't know anything about it, we can't protect you, like, you know, you're going into uncharted territory from all the family, but you know, what I've seen now, what it's provided for my cousins and extended family, that, hey, look, it can be done. It's what I'm saying.
Growing up, for me, my motivation was my mom. I saw how hard she worked. She was the first of 13 children born in the United States. And I know really honoring all of her hard work. As the oldest child in my family, a lot of responsibility of being the model, the role model for my brothers, and really wanting to set that example. I was always trying to do everything right so that they would do no wrong. Well, that didn't go that way. Having the middle child and the youngest, they got a little bit more freedom than me. But I still wanted to really set that example for them. And then now, as I'm older and have children, really trying to create a legacy for my children. They really, truly don't understand the struggles that my family before me had to go through, or even what I experienced, and I'm okay with that. What I want them to see is that they have a strong mom, a strong woman, want to be a strong woman for my daughter, so that she knows that she really, truly can do anything.
And mine are very similar, actually, to yours. Like I said, I'm class of 95. If you guys know what this area, the Jeff area, the Lanier area was like in the mid-90s, it was serious. Maybe I was a little bit sensitive, but I knew I wanted to come back here, but I also knew I had to get away for a little while. So one of my main motivations was just to get somewhere away from here, just for that time. Because I didn't want the city to get the way I got a lot of my friends. So that was the main motivation. But then after I got to school, and I was able to do that compare and contrast I was telling you about before, I started to look at these kids in Michigan. They were okay, but really not spectacular compared to my friends from the FOIA. The group chat is still all the FOIA kids in one bracket. But it's those kids, and I kept comparing the students I was with to them, and then realizing how unfair that was. That became my motivation after I got to school, and that's still my motivation now. So I think that's where it comes from.
So everyone, we have time for just one more question, and we're going to make it kind of short and sweet. If you could limit it to about 30 seconds to a minute. And this is, what final message would you all, our panel guests, want to share with the educators of SAISD? So what final message would you like to tell our audience?
So I walked these halls in this building as a lost teenager, and I think we've all mentioned teachers, counselors, administrators that have really guided our path. And I would just say, be that person. You know, I wish, and every chance I get to, I'm out at classrooms, I'm out talking to students. I want students to see a female Latina in technology, right? So that they know it's possible. But if you're, you know, in direct contact with students, be that person that changes their future, that lets them know that they can be whatever they want.
If I could give one message to our educators, I would say, be the type of educator, administrator, leader that you would want your own children to have in their own respective schools. Look at every child as if they had your last name and my last name on their backs. Look at children the same way that you want others to look at yours. It's very important. We also have to be careful to not look at our children through the lens of a W-2 form. The only number that should define our children is not their STAR test, although I know that's important, but the only number that should identify our students is the last four of their social security number. Our kids are full of potential. Yes, we are surrounded by poverty, but our students are rich in so many other areas. And if we can coach them up, if we can love them, they need to feel loved, welcome, valued, respected, not only our students, but their families. If you can change the life of one Ricky, you're going to change an entire generation. And because I had teachers and counselors and administrators that believed in me, my family and my children will never, ever have to experience what I went through. Don't stop believing in our kids. They need you, and the time is now.
I would say just keep your passion alive. Always remember why you chose this profession and know that you're making that difference. Our students are watching us every day, watching everything we do and everything we say, and they enjoy when they know that we just love them and love being there. So I would say just always keep that alive, and I think it's absolutely what makes SAISD so special and gives it that familia feel because all of us really do show our passion when we're there on campus and in the classrooms. So thank you for what you do, and know that you do make a difference and that you are very much important in the lives of all of our students.
So we have a relationship. I send the most precious thing in my life to you guys. My kid goes to SAIC schools. And so you're super important to me for that reason. But the other one is that I essentially work for you. You're my boss. As much as I like talking to that man, great guy. Superintendents and people who represent school districts or even teacher groups can't give me the level of detail that you can as to what we can do to make these better. More money, I get that. I'll keep working on it. But there are things that happen in a class, in a day, that could be different. And if they were different, they would be better. The only way that I'm going to know that is if you tell me. So I would ask that you find me and other people who have positions like mine and let us know the specific things that we should be working on to make your job better, because it makes the life of the kids better, and selfishly it makes my kids' life better. So let's do that. Thank you very much.
So for our panel guests, let's give them a big hand. I'm going to ask you to hold up.